Oh, welcome back. Yes, you. The one they've been circling like sharks who just realized they're not dealing with prey anymore. The one who's been enduring their attacks, their mockery, their coordinated campaigns to diminish you. I need to tell you something that's happening right now, something they're experiencing that's making them physically uncomfortable in their own skin. They're being forced to witness something they never wanted to see, something that contradicts everything they've been telling themselves about you. And the beautiful part? They can't look away. They can't deny it. They can't explain it with their usual dismissive comments and convenient narratives. Something shifted in the atmosphere around you, and they felt it before they understood it. That community that's been so committed to tearing you down, that group that made attacking you their collective hobby. They're watching something unfold that's breaking their entire psychological framework. See, they thought they were dealing with someone they could break, someone they could diminish through sustained pressure, someone who would eventually crumble under the weight of their collective negativity. They organized themselves around your destruction. They created their little echo chambers where they reinforced each other's hatred. They built their identity partly on being against you. But now they're witnessing something that's making them question everything. You know what's really happening to them right now? They're seeing protection around you that they can't penetrate. They're watching opportunities manifest for you that make no logical sense given the obstacles they placed in your path. They're observing you move through situations that should have destroyed you, and you're not just surviving, you're thriving in ways that violate their understanding of how consequences work. They threw everything at you, every attack, every lie, every coordinated effort to isolate and eliminate you. And not only did it not work, but somehow, impossibly, you became stronger, more focused, more untouchable. And that's not supposed to happen. That's not how their world works. Let me tell you what they're being forced to witness, what's making them lose sleep and question their own perceptions. They're seeing you operate under a different set of rules, like you have access to resources and protection they can't see or understand. Every attack they launched seems to have bounced back on them. Every trap they set seems to have caught them instead. Every lie they spread seems to have exposed them rather than damaged you. It's like watching someone walk through fire and come out without a single burn mark. It's like watching arrows fly toward a target only to curve away at the last second. They're witnessing impossibility, and it's forcing them to confront something that terrifies them beyond measure. They're in their group chats right now, their private forums, their secret meetings where they plot and scheme. And the tone has changed drastically from where it started. It used to be confident, mocking, certain of victory. Now it's confused, frustrated, tinged with something that looks suspiciously like fear. They're comparing notes, trying to understand how every single strategy they employed against you somehow failed. They're analyzing what went wrong, looking for the logical explanation, the tactical error, the missed opportunity. But they're not finding it, because what they're up against isn't tactical. It's something else entirely, something that operates outside their framework of manipulation and social warfare. Watch how they talk about you now versus how they talked about you 6 months ago. The language has shifted. The mockery sounds forced. The confidence is performance. Underneath, there's this growing unease, this sense that they picked a fight with something they don't understand. They thought you were isolated, vulnerable, and easy target. They thought the absence of visible support meant you had no support. They didn't realize that the most powerful protection doesn't advertise itself, doesn't show up on social media, doesn't need witnesses. They were looking at the surface while missing everything happening in dimensions they don't have access to. Some of them are starting to back off quietly, aren't they? Deleting old posts, removing themselves from the attack threads, trying to distance themselves from the collective campaign. They're feeling something they can't name, some instinct screaming at them to stop, to step back, to get away from this situation before something happens they can't undo. The smart ones in their group are sensing danger. They're noticing patterns that don't make sense. They're seeing that every person who came at you hardest seems to have experienced setbacks in their own life shortly after. They're watching karma work in real time, and it's making them reconsider their involvement. But here's what's really breaking their collective mind. They're watching you succeed in areas where they tried to destroy you. They spread lies about your character, and somehow you ended up in positions of greater influence. They tried to isolate you socially, and you built a network of genuine connections that puts their forced alliances to shame. They attacked your work, and your work gained recognition they can't comprehend. It's like the universe itself is responding to their attacks by elevating you further. And that's not how they thought reality worked. That's not the script they were following. They believed that coordinated attacks, sustained pressure, and social warfare would bring you down. Instead, it seems to have activated something in you and around you that they have no counter for. Let's talk about what they're actually seeing, what's forcing them to acknowledge something beyond their control. They're witnessing you move with a confidence that doesn't come from external validation. They're watching you make decisions with a clarity that suggests you're receiving guidance from sources they can't access. They're observing you navigate complex situations with wisdom that shouldn't be possible given your age or experience. It's like you're operating with insider information about how reality actually works, information they've never been granted access to. And the more they attack, the more pronounced this becomes. They're seeing doors open for you that were supposedly locked, opportunities manifest that shouldn't exist, connections form that make no logical sense. They're watching the very fabric of circumstances bend in your favor in ways that violate their understanding of networking, merit, and social capital. You're not playing the game they know. You're not following the rules they understand. You're moving through life like someone who has authorization they don't possess, clearance to levels they can't reach, protection from sources they can't identify. And it's forcing them to confront the possibility that maybe, just maybe, they picked a fight with someone who was never meant to be defeated by people like them. The term they're dancing around, the concept they're reluctant to fully acknowledge, is that you're anointed, chosen, marked for protection and purpose that supersedes their schemes. They're watching you operate under what looks like preferential treatment from existence itself. The attacks that should have landed seem to pass through you without damage. The consequences that should have manifested never arrive. The isolation that should have broken you seems to have refined you instead. It's like you're wrapped in something invisible that neutralizes their poison before it reaches you. And they're seeing this happen repeatedly, consistently, undeniably. Some of them are starting to use that language now, in hushed tones, in private conversations they think are safe from exposure. It's like they're protected. It's like something is guarding them. It's like they have favor we can't touch. They're trying to rationalize it, trying to find mundane explanations. But the pattern is too clear, too consistent, too impossible to dismiss. They're being forced to witness something that challenges their materialist worldview, their belief that social warfare and coordinated attacks can destroy anyone. You're the evidence that some people operate under different physics, protected by forces that don't show up in their tactical playbooks. What they're going through right now isn't just confusion, it's a reckoning. Every attack they launched is creating a record, a documented history of their intentions, their cruelty, their coordinated malice. And they're starting to realize that this record exists, not just digitally, but in some deeper ledger they're only beginning to sense. They thought they could attack with impunity, hide behind anonymous accounts and collective action, avoid individual consequences by diffusing responsibility across their group. But something's happening that's making them understand that every action is recorded, every intention is noted, every attack is being accounted for. They're experiencing what happens when people who operate in darkness encounter someone who walks in light. The contrast is exposing them in ways they never anticipated. Their own tactics are becoming visible to others who previously didn't see. Their manipulation is becoming obvious to people who used to fall for it. Their lies are unraveling faster than they can spin new ones. It's like your presence, your continued existence, despite their best efforts, is shining a light that makes them visible in ways they desperately want to avoid. They're being exposed not by you defending yourself, but by the simple fact that their attacks aren't working. Watch what's happening to their credibility. People who used to trust their narratives are starting to question. People who participated in the attacks are starting to distance themselves. People who enabled their behavior are starting to experience consequences in their own lives. It's like a wave of accountability is moving through their community, and they can't stop it, can't contain it, can't manipulate their way out of it. They're watching their social structures crumble, their alliances fracture, their collective power dissolve. And they know, somewhere deep in their consciousness, that this is connected to their campaign against you. The fear they're experiencing now is primal. It's the fear of having offended something they don't understand. It's the fear of consequences they can't see coming. It's the fear of having made themselves enemies of forces that operate beyond their comprehension. Some of them are trying to make amends, sending indirect messages, attempting reconciliation through mutual connections. But they're discovering that apologies motivated by fear rather than genuine remorse don't carry the weight they think they do. They're learning that some doors, once closed, require more than words to reopen. They're finding out that protected people don't need their validation or acceptance. What's really destroying their psychological equilibrium is watching you transform while they stagnate. They expected you to break, to become bitter, to descend to their level. Instead, you refined, you elevated, you evolved past the need to engage with their attacks. While they were obsessing over you, organizing their campaigns, feeding their collective hatred, you were becoming someone who operates on a frequency they can't reach. They're trapped in patterns of negativity and destruction, while you're breaking through to new levels of capability, awareness, and influence. And this transformation is visible enough that they can't deny it, but mysterious enough that they can't explain it. They're watching you develop abilities they don't possess. Emotional regulation that allows you to stay calm when they're trying to provoke you. Strategic thinking that helps you avoid traps they spent weeks setting. Intuition that guides you away from danger before it manifests. Wisdom that helps you make decisions they can't comprehend. It's like you're accessing resources they don't have clearance for, learning lessons from sources they can't identify, receiving guidance from places they can't see. And the more they attack, the more pronounced these abilities become, like pressure is creating diamonds out of what they thought was coal. The anointing they're being forced to witness isn't just about protection, it's about transformation. They're seeing you develop into something that makes their attacks irrelevant. Not because you've built impenetrable defenses, but because you've grown beyond the level where their attacks can reach. It's like watching someone move from ground level to a higher floor, and no matter how much they scream from below, their voices can't reach that height. They're experiencing the frustration of obsolescence, of becoming irrelevant to the very person they've obsessed over. Their attacks are hitting air because you're not occupying the same space anymore. Some of them are going through actual identity crises over this. They built so much of their self-concept around being against you that your success, your transformation, your evident protection, it's undermining their sense of self. Who are they if they're not the ones who exposed you, stopped you, brought you down? What's their purpose if their collective campaign failed so spectacularly? They're facing an existential crisis they never saw coming, all because they chose to make someone anointed their enemy. They thought they were powerful enough to destroy anyone. You're teaching them there are levels of protection and purpose that make power as they understand it completely irrelevant. Let me tell you what's keeping them up at night now, what terrifies them beyond the present circumstances. They're starting to realize that this isn't ending, it's beginning. What they're witnessing now is just the early stage of your emergence. They're seeing the foundation being laid for something bigger, and they understand on some instinctive level that they position themselves as obstacles to something that was always going to manifest. They're on the wrong side of inevitability. They oppose someone whose success was predetermined, whose protection was guaranteed, whose purpose was sealed before they ever decided to attack. They're watching the trajectory and doing the math. If you've come this far despite everything they threw at you, where will you be in a year? In 5 years? What happens when you fully step into whatever you're being prepared for? They're realizing they didn't just pick a fight with an individual, they positioned themselves against a movement, a manifestation, a purpose that's bigger than personality or circumstance. And that realization is creating a fear they can't articulate, can't process, can't escape. They're going to watch you rise while dealing with the consequences of having actively worked against someone under protection they couldn't see. Some of them are already experiencing the fallout, opportunities disappearing, relationships ending, peace evaporating, things falling apart in their lives in ways that feel connected to their campaign against you, even though they can't prove the connection. They're learning what happens when you attack anointed people, when you come against those marked for protection and purpose. The universe has ways of creating balance, of ensuring that those who sow destruction reap chaos in their own lives. They're being educated in real time about spiritual laws they didn't believe existed, consequences that operate beyond human justice systems. The smart ones are trying to exit gracefully, to fade into the background, to hope that distancing themselves now will protect them from whatever consequences are coming. But they're discovering that screenshots exist, that digital footprints are permanent, that their participation in coordinated attacks created records that won't be erased by deletion or distance. They're learning that accountability has a memory, that consequences don't always arrive immediately, but they do arrive. And watching you continue to rise while they experience turbulence is connecting dots they wish would stay disconnected. What they're being taught through this experience is something that will change them permanently, whether they want it to or not. They're learning that not everyone is meant to be touched by their darkness. They're discovering that some people carry protection that makes them untouchable to social warfare and coordinated attacks. They're finding out that the universe doesn't operate according to their playbook, that there are forces and factors they don't understand and can't control. And this education is happening whether they're ready for it or not, delivered through the undeniable evidence of your continued success despite their best efforts to destroy you. They thought they understood how power works, how influence operates, how social dynamics function. You're teaching them there are levels above what they know, dimensions of reality they haven't accessed, forces they've never encountered. They believe that numbers, coordination, and sustained pressure could break anyone. You're proving that some people are wrapped in something that neutralizes all of that, that renders their tactics ineffective, that protects against attacks they haven't even launched yet. This lesson is expensive for them, costing them credibility, peace, and in some cases, the very things they valued most. The irony isn't lost on the universe. They tried to make you a cautionary tale, and instead, they became one. They wanted to use you as an example of what happens to people who stand out, who don't conform, who dare to be different. Instead, you're becoming a testimony of what happens when protected people face opposition, of how anointed individuals navigate attacks, of what it looks like when someone under favor encounters people trying to operate in malice. The roles reverse completely. They're the warning now. They're the example of what not to do. They're the cautionary tale about choosing your enemies wisely. And here's what's beautiful about this entire situation. You didn't have to fight them directly. You didn't have to defend yourself endlessly. You didn't have to lower yourself to their level or engage in the mudslinging they specialize in. You just had to keep walking forward, keep building, keep growing, keep operating under the anointing that was always there. The protection did its work. The favor did its job. The purpose you carry created its own defense. They exhausted themselves attacking while you conserved your energy for creation, for growth, for transformation. And now they're tired, confused, afraid, while you're just getting started. So here we are at this moment where they can't deny what they're seeing anymore. That community that wouldn't stop attacking you, that group that made you their collective project, they're being forced to witness something that contradicts everything they believed about power, protection, and purpose. They're watching you operate under anointing they don't possess, move with favor they can't access, succeed under protection they can't penetrate. And every day this continues, every milestone you reach, every obstacle you overcome, it reinforces the lesson they're learning whether they want to or not. They're going to watch this unfold. They have no choice. The curiosity, the fear, the need to monitor what they can't control, it's going to keep their eyes on you. And with every observation, with every update, with every new success they witness, the reality becomes more undeniable. You were never meant to be stopped by people like them. You were always going to rise. You were always protected. You were always anointed for this. Their attacks weren't obstacles to your destiny, they were confirmations of it. Because protected people don't get attacked for no reason. Anointed people don't face opposition randomly. The very intensity of their campaign against you was evidence of what you carry. Let them watch. Let them witness. Let them learn through observation what they refuse to accept through wisdom. You don't need their acknowledgement, their apology, their acceptance. You never did. The anointing you carry doesn't require their validation. The protection around you doesn't need their permission. The purpose you're walking in doesn't pause for their approval. You're marked, you're guarded, you're guided. And they're being forced to see it, to acknowledge it, to contend with it whether they want to or not. That's not your concern anymore. That's between them and whatever forces they've found themselves opposing. Keep walking forward. Keep building. Keep transforming. Let your continued success, your evident protection, your undeniable favor be the testimony that speaks louder than any defense you could offer. They're learning what happens when communities attack anointed people. They're discovering the cost of opposing what was never meant to be opposed. They're experiencing the consequences of choosing the wrong enemy. And through it all, you're just being exactly what you were always meant to be: protected, purposeful, unstoppable. Welcome to the next chapter, where their attacks become your testimony, their opposition becomes your confirmation, and their forced recognition becomes evidence of everything they tried to deny.